Hello everyone, it's Decklist and welcome to another ELDRAZI Aggro video. This time we are playing Writhing Chrysalis, which is a difference to the yesterday trophy league. Today with this build I also got a trophy, and both lists just performed amazingly for me through the last week, and had such a good run with both of these builds. I can't decide where the Chrysalis is better and when Mycospawn is better, but one thing is certain. Chrysalis helps you more with aggro matchups, and Mycospawn can help you more with big mana and control matchup. So it's kind of metagame dependent which version do you want to play. But I think in the Chrysalis is a kind of in a way a better fit which for this build, which is trying to be very aggressive and win early. So in that manner, Chrysalis has better synergy with Glaring Fleshraker. It makes 3 guys which drain opponent better, plays better with Linebreaker, gives it more Eldrazi, so Linebreaker ability becomes stronger. If that heralds the end, also plays well with Chrysalis because it pumps the tokens. So a lot of synergy with Writhing Chrysalis in a deck, definitely, in comparison to Sowing Mycospawn. But Sowing Mycospawn has definitely its advantages as well. As I said, I believe the Chrysalis will be better when you're playing against aggro decks like Proves, like Energy, Domain Zoo, stuff like that. And Sowing Mycospawn will probably be better when playing against a deck like Control decks, where Mycospawn ability can help you find Cavern of Souls, which is such a huge deal. And you know, in that version we also have Bojuka Bog and a Ghost Quarter. Ghost Quarter can help you win game against Tron by killing a Tron land, or help you win a game against Eldrazi Ramp, killing Eugene's Labyrinth, Eldrazi Temple, or against Amulet Titan. Definitely has advantages, Bojuka Bog finding as well. But Chrysalis is also a great card, and I think they kind of definitely fight for a slot in this build. And it's hard to play both. I think Totnot Seer is you just have to play this card in this build. It's a disruption, exiles the card from their hand, and it's just super hard to play it without Totnot Seer, without disruption of that kind. So you have to choose between Chrysalis and Mycospawn, and the problem is that they are both very good, and both fit very well in the deck's plan. And I will have play with both versions now, and in future I'll have to play more, decide which I like better. But great news, sideboard is the same as yesterday, but I decided to go with 3 Disruptor Flute and 3 Trinisphere instead of 4-2 I had before. I'm so hyped about this deck. It's performing so good for me constantly in the last week, and I did a new guide, ELDRAZI Aggro in-depth guide. This is a huge guide, and I think at the moment the only one out there, and the biggest guide out there. It's like a 30 or more pages of thoughts on archetype, what to play, why to play, and card choices. Also, this guide is done in collaboration between me and Rudokant, another deck specialist, Italian guy who played a lot of matches with this deck and knows it well. We both share some thoughts in the guide, and we both share our printable guide for our version of a deck. Our lists are very similar but have some differences, and you can see the differences between my and his sideboarding, and differences between mine and his list, and you can see why some cards are played, why not. And there will be more of these articles on this archetype in the future, same as I did for Zoo. And like this one, so a new guide, a new article for Zoo, and I'm already working on a new article for Zoo archetype, and this old tips and tricks extensive extensive article on a zoo is now also here. So these two guides here for zoo, now this big ELDRAZI Aggro guide, and at the same time I'm working on a new zoo article and new ELDRAZI Aggro article, and also recently I added a frog zoo a sideboard guide. So we have new setup on my Decktionary, which you can choose between subscribing to zoo stuff or ELDRAZI stuff. Zoo stuff will remain in this between these two tiers. So you can do the guide tier to get access to the frog zoo guide, plus access to these two big extensive articles with a lot of my thoughts on zoo, and you can still have the $10 medium tier, which holds all these guides, but just Excel, sorry, printable versions without the extensive articles and my thoughts on the guide. But you still have all these guides in that tier. So Obosh regular zoo, Emperor of the Bone zoo, Dork Zookeeper, Cyber guide with null drifters, and a lot of guides still here. And I'm working towards making more stuff in the guide tier of a zoo. So there's that new setup on my Decktionary. So check out what it holds before you decide where you subscribe. And note that there is a difference between ELDRAZI stuff and zoo stuff. So these two are zoo stuff, and this is only ELDRAZI stuff. And by subscribing, you are getting all other but to zoo you are getting all other non-ELDRAZI guides like Marduketramos, Dimir Frog, and the same thing if you're subscribing to ELDRAZI, you are getting the non-zoo guides as well. Okay, so there is that, and we can now go to the gameplay and see how that went. Okay, with this new list I also did a Trophy League. Deck overall in both versions performed amazingly. So we can see how strong I started here, playing against Mardu Blink. And I started with turn 1 Chalice of the Void, turn 2 Totnut Seer. My opponent has a Failure. If they try to kill my Chalice, I saw my opponent's hand, they have a double Fatal Push. So they can potentially go for sacrifice their Failure, blink my Chalice, and let me block Failure, then Fatal Push my Totnut Seer. I think that was a good role for them, but they decided not to do that. Okay, so here I go for another Chalice of the Void on 1 in case they try to attack with Felia, blink my Chalice, and now I have 2 Chalice on 1. It will be very hard for them to play these pushes from their hand. Opponent does attack with Felia here and exiles my Totnut Seer, and now I have opportunity here to trade with Felia. I decide to sacrifice my Flesh Raker and just trade with Felia. Okay, so my opponent didn't draw much here, and I can now, unfortunately, I'm missing a mana here to play the Chrysalis. This doesn't really happen much. I have more colored sources in this build, and I usually don't have problems resolving Chrysalis, but in this situation I was missing 1 color mana to do so. I'm also missing 1 mana to play Sire, so I'm like 1 mana away from basically winning this match. Okay, let's see what happens here. Opponent finds another Emperor. That's actually pretty good draw for them. They exile the Felia but decide not to use it immediately, and this gives me a great opportunity to top deck another land and be able to cast Sire of 7 Deaths, which basically wins the game for me here. So at this point I don't want to trade with my Totnut. I decide to stay back with both of my creatures, and looks pretty good for me here. So opponent goes for Failure, and they, I guess, try to draw a card with Totnut here, kind of a desperate move. Kind of a desperate move. I get a free block of Velia here with Sire. Opponent looking for probably like Solitude to get rid of my Sire. And my Totnot Seer comes back and I get a bunch of mana here to play my Kozilek's command, clear their Ketramos, which was their potential way back into the game. I was able to exile it, and when I killed it, my opponent concedes. So that is the game 1. Let's check out game 2. Okay, so only 2 cards, 2 playable cards here, lot of lands, so I decide to mulligan. Unfortunately now only 1 land, so I mulligan again. And yeah, it's not, the mulliganing is not working out great for me here, but I keep a pretty decent hand here. I have double Kozilek's command, I have Totnot, Dismember, I just need more lands actually. So opponent plays Emperor of the Bones, I decide kill it immediately, play a land, and now I can dig with Kozilek's command and find a 4th land to play the Totnot. Totnot can then start attacking. Okay, my opponent takes one of my Kozilek's commands there. End of turn I play another and put this Herald on the bottom. Find a land here. Yeah, land here is just the best I can do. And Totnot Seer looks at my opponent's hand, and in response opponent plays the Solitude. I like this deal a lot actually. I like this deal a lot, and my opponent has 2 more Solitudes in their hand. I decide to take their Emperor of the Bones. Leave them with 2 Solitudes in hand, but Emperor of Bones I think very annoying, can do a lot of value. And yeah, so I decide to play my Vase Cap here, just continue attacking them and wait until I find more lands to cast the Sire and all is dust later and stuff like that. Okay, so here it is, a Line Breaker from the top, and I went to attack my opponent for a lot of damage, but yeah, it seems like my opponent top decked the Ephemerate, so they were able to take all 3 of my creatures. Okay, so this unfortunately they top decked Flicker Wisp as well. They completely demolished my board, but I was still in game. Okay, so I exiled another card there to on Ogi Labyrinth to give me 2 mana, and I was hoping to find more lands here, be able to cast my All is Dust and Devourer of Destiny. We both have 0 low on cards in hand, 2 cards both now, and at least my opponent can attack me with Solitude through Totnot Seer, but they find Overlord of the Bailmerk, which was obviously a huge problem, and I did find answer for the Overlord immediately, but I'm struggling with lands. I need to go to 7 mana to be able to cast my cards, and yeah, opponent finds another Overlord from the top. This is a huge problem for me, and I decided to concede to try to win in game 3. Okay. Okay, so this is that type of a slower hand, but I think when you're playing against a slow deck like Orzo Blink, I think you can afford to keep a hand like this if it has some strong pieces in hand. Okay, opponent starts with, and if you're playing first, that matters a lot also. Opponent starts with Thoughtseize. Lot of good stuff here. Opponent takes the Line Breaker. I go for another land, and I will be slower here definitely too, but here I cast Flash Raker. Opponent has to deal with Flash Raker. If they don't, they're in trouble. And they have a Prismatic Ending. Here takes my Flash Raker, that's fine. And I am now on 4 mana here, casting the Totnot, taking card from their hand, and I can see they're flooded as well. and I take their Flicker Wisp because I was expecting them to play Ketramos, and I didn't, and I was planning on going Kozilek's command, killing exiling Ketramos, and drawing card, finding cards from the top for me here. Okay, so I play the Eugene's Labyrinth. I have extra mana here. With Labyrinth, I play Kozilek's command X4 and look at the top of my library. So, Cavern of Souls, I don't really need, but I need another land to be able to cast my 7 drops. So I leave a Cavern and a Devourer on top, continue attacking with Totnot. Next turn I can go a Cavern, play Sire, and then have Devourer in hand in case they play some troublesome permanents. Okay, perfect situation. I'm attacking with a Totnot. So I wanted to attack first in case my opponent has Solitude. Then it will be problem if they like exile the Sire and then jump the Totnot Seer. That is much worse. So in this situation where opponent plays Solitude first, I think it's best for me to just cast the Devourer, put Attacker for the next turn on the field. They have to deal with this Devourer. If they go to 4, I cast the Sire of 7 deaths, they can't deal with it. Okay, so opponent goes for Ketramos, and they play Emperor of the Bones, and unfortunately, with Emperor of the Bones exiling this card, they have exactly 7, and the Ketramos can now block. This is a problem for me, and potentially a way back into the game for my opponent. But I find Kozilek's command on the top once again. What a card. And I go to exile Ketramos and dig again from the top of my library for cards that will win me the game against them. I keep a Line Breaker on top and Dismember on top as well. I feel like Dismember could be very useful in the following turns here. This turn my opponent only chumps with Emperor. They want to keep as high on life total as possible. Next turn have Dismember and ELDRAZI Linebreaker, also Sire, so I can choose which route to take, what to play, depending on what my opponent does. Okay, so here it is. They go White Orchid Phantom, and they actually shuffle the Line Breaker from top of my library. That is the problem. Also, they killed a land, so I was not able to play Sire of 7 Deaths this turn, but I could go for if that heralds the end, attack my opponent for 7, put them down on 1, but opponent jumps with Felia. That's actually good news for me. And with it that heralds the end on the field, this means I can actually cast Sire next turn for 6 mana. I draw land for a turn anyway, so I cast the Sire and I go for attacks with both, put my opponent down to 6, so they fetch to 5, and now with Sire of 7 deaths on the field, there is just no out for opponent. Nothing they can do to survive this, so that is game over. And let's go to the next game and see how that one go. Okay, so in this match my opponent played what it was this? Yeah, I think this was Gorios. Yeah, I think this was Gorios, and I was really happy here in this matchup having the Unlicensed Hearse, hating on their graveyards, and also doubling up as a creature. And we can see in this game I was really aggressive and built a lot of creatures here and trying to end stuff here with a Line Breaker, a lot of creatures on the field, and now making a Line Breaker a huge attacker. I'm not sure if my opponent had Solitude in their hand or whatever else, so I make my Eldrazi spawn here. Okay, yeah, sorry. Opponent had a Solitude below the Emperor of the Bones, so I was sure they are going to exile my Line Breaker. They have to. So I attack with Chrysalis and Eldrazi Spawn token pumped with Line Breaker ability. So now my opponent uses the Emperor of the Bones ability, makes it a 4/4, puts a Solitude on the field. And now, of course, they exile the Line Breaker and they have to block here. So they also block the Chrysalis, so I sacrifice both of my Eldrazi spawns to make my Chrysalis, sorry, only one, I need to only one, to make Chrysalis survive the combat with Emperor of the Bones. And past the turn I have lethal in more than one way. So I attack with everything. Unfortunately, my opponent has Solitude. Maybe it was smarter to just attack with Chrysalis this turn, but then a single removal could maybe get rid of it. Okay, so here I go. I leave one red mana open with Cavern of Souls, so I'm digging for a lot of mana trying to find the Line Breaker, and here you can see me find it. I also leave a Kozilek's Command on top and Sire of 7 Deaths, so I'm going for a Line Breaker immediately and try to win on this same turn. My opponent is on 5. Line Breaker will be huge here. It's like a 10-3 haster with trample, and that's enough for a win. So I'm playing against Gorios, so Disruptor Flute and License Curse go in are the cards I want here. Okay, so Devourer of Destiny ability, it's just this guy is so strong in this deck. It's super strong. It's even better than in other decks, other Eldrazi decks playing Devourer of Destiny, because this deck depends on your starting 7 more than any other Eldrazi deck. So there is a higher value in Devourer in this build than any other Eldrazi build. It's such a powerful piece in this build, enabling you to win early and be super effective with mana in the early turns. But also be careful to not depend on Devourer of Destiny too much. If your hand is bad and you have Devourer of Destiny in hand, of course that Devourer can help you find a piece that you need, but don't rely completely on finding that piece. And if your hand is terrible without that piece, almost unplayable, just don't keep it, okay? Okay, so here I go for another Labyrinth, and I decide to go for a Line Breaker here, trigger the Flash Raker, and unfortunately my opponent has Solitude Ephemerate, one of the best things to do against my deck, taking a lot of my creatures. But luckily this deck has a bunch of powerful big mana spells which can deal with stuff like that, like playing a Solitude Ephemerate on me. So I play the Kozilek's Command, I exile the Solitude and dig top of my library for 5 cards, finding more strong cards to help me win this game. Okay, so I think it's not a good timing for Disruptor Flute here. I already have a bunch of lands, I don't need lands, so I can keep definitely Devourer on top. And I think keeping Chrysalis is not bad as well. Okay, so Chrysalis here is a strong attacker. I want to keep Devourer in case my opponent plays a threat I need to kill. Also, I can put Sire or Devourer in my hand end of turn, then play one of those cards next turn. Okay, I bring back a Sire, make my Chrysalis a bigger attacker here, attack for 4, and with Sire on the field, this is lethal next turn. Let's see what my opponent has. Do they have a removal for Sire? Opponent has Solitude, but has to pay 7 life. This means they go down to 3. This opens up some possibilities for me. I still have a Devourer of Destiny. Opponent attacks me for 3 to gain some life and they stay back with Ketramos. I can bring my Devourer back to my hand and exile the Ketramos, attack them down to 2 life. Okay, so it's exactly what I do. My opponent is on 2, I have 2 big attackers and another Devourer in hand to clear another blocker of theirs if needed. So I go for a Devourer, I go for a kill immediately, and that's it. My opponent concedes. That is the game. Okay, so let's check out another match. And this time I'm starting with ELDRAZI Temple. I really like this hand is amazing. So we have a turn 1 Devourer ability plus ELDRAZI Temple into the Herald. Turn 2 ELDRAZI Linebreaker attacking with haste. Turn 3 another Linebreaker from the top which I found with Devourer. Means I actually have a turn 3 kill here. This type of hands are just super good. Opponent also helps me here by paying some life. So I can go for a Linebreaker here, give it haste, attack for 6 damage, that is a lot. My opponent already on 11, they go for Mox Ember and they play Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. This means my opponent is playing Ketis combo. And this is ideal for me because opponent is tapped out, which allows me to just freely tap out for my Linebreaker, which is enough here for a lethal. There is no way opponent can block this to survive. So very nice turn 3 win here. Okay, so opponent, I need a Disruptor Flute here, Dismember, kill Ketis, hate on Ketis. Also Unlicensed Curse, I think it's good in this matchup. They play a lot on Graveyard with Emery and Ketis. You can remove some key pieces from it, I think it can play very well. Okay, so let's go check out the game 2. I mulligan to 6 but keep a pretty decent hand with a lot of hate cards I draw. Only 2 lands, only 2 cover, no souls. I think that's fine. So I go for Chalice on 0. They play a lot of 0 mana artifacts. They have 8 Moxes and bubbles, so that's already 12 spells. Not sure if they have anything else, but that's already a lot. Okay, my opponent goes for Rona, so turn 1 I use my turn 1 pretty good, play Chalice plus Dismember. Then on turn 2 I get to play Hearse. This started pretty well for me. Opponent plays Ketis. I'm making my Hearse bigger. Removing cards from the graveyard. I can go for Disruptor Flute. Yeah, I should have played Disruptor Flute in response to this. I think when I name Ketis, it's actually creature gains this ability, so they would be unable to use this ability. So that was a mistake. Should have used Disruptor Flute right away. Okay, so I go for Disruptor Flute now, and I plan on playing Vasecape Battle Mage there, and I have hers to hate on Emery anyway. Okay, so here I play the Eugene's Labyrinth, exile the Sire. I can now double kicker my Battle Mage and kill the Ember and also bounce the Ketis. I actually forgot to play my Chalice on 0 again, but it didn't really matter at this point much. Once I did this, I think it's okay for me to to play it later, maybe on 1 or 2. Okay, so my opponent quickly concedes in that game as well, so it's time to check out match 4. ELDRAZI Temple, again I have turn 1, if that herald the end, turn 2, Linebreaker, but my opponent takes the Linebreaker with Totsis. Still a pretty good hand for me here. Opponent continues with discarding on again, and they take the Flesh Raker, but it seems like they could be playing a deck very with a lot of 1 mana spells, so I think Chalice on 1 should be pretty good against them. I play Chalice, continue attacking with if that heralds the end. My opponent is already on 12, and here I find a Kozilek's command from top. This allows me to get rid of their Emperor of the Bones. Emperor of the Bones, a pretty strong creature, doing a lot of nasty stuff. I like to get rid of this guy as soon as I can. Okay, so I go for exile on Emperor, and look at the top of my library. I think I want to keep Totnot. I think Totnot is a very decent play for next turn. Keep attacking my opponent, and here they play Oculus, and Wayscape Battle Mage is actually ideal for a situation like this. So you can just bounce the Oculus to their hand, making it nightmare for them again to replay it. And we can see here opponent putting Archon of Cruelty in the yard. I actually did not expect this, but it seems like my opponent is playing some kind of Reanimator. They don't have a Persist, luckily, so I get the chance to play the Totnots here. Look at my opponent hand and take the Oculus, see two Tot Scours in their hand locked with Chalice. This is great news for me and allows me to go for Linebreaker next turn and win. So my opponent concede before that. We can see that Unlicensed Curse was very useful for me in this league. A lot of times I brought it in. Of course you want it against Reanimator. You don't have any other way to deal with their Persist or Gorios, so it's definitely needed against such decks. Hers is a strong tool, and it can also become a finisher, big attacker in the mid game, late game. I think it's a good piece to have. Okay, so I have a Labyrinth Forest. I'm missing a 7 mana creature here to go with it, and I mulligan and decide to keep this hand, which is, I think, much better than the last hand. I decide to keep Devourer to look at the top cards of my library. I have, with Devourer of Destiny, I have turn 1 a Hearse. But yeah, I decided, it felt like kind of obvious they have a consign here, but I don't have like a cover anyway, so I was like, let's just have you use that consign. I want to play my Linebreaker on turn 2 or Fleshraker, whatever. So I just want them to use this Hearse, and here it is, the Cavern of Souls from the top, and I decide to go for the Fleshraker first. So Fleshraker, I resolve first, then go for the Linebreaker. And yeah, I thought about this for a bit, but I decided to go for attack here with my Linebreaker. If my opponent wants to make their frogs survive this battle, they have to discard their entire hand. Okay, so opponent discards 2 but doesn't block in the end, so this means they are already on 8 and they then shock in down to 6. Play the Emperor of the Bones. So I'm also close to casting this Devourer of Destiny, which I have below Yugin's Labyrinth. Okay, so now I go for the Chrysalis, and the Chrysalis helps me do these Fleshraker abilities. It also makes my Linebreaker pretty big. Okay, so I try to go pump my token. I was definitely expecting my opponent to have something like Bolt or Consign, so I decided to go try to pump a token, but they have Consign, so I just pass this turn. But next turn I can bring back a Devourer with land to my hand, play Devourer, exile their blocker like Psychic Frog, and try to win. My opponent only one card in hand, unearths the Emperor, passes the turn. Okay, so I think my opponent missed on me having Chrysalis having a reach, so they were not able to attack here. I pumped my Chrysalis to 5-6, prevent them drawing a card, kill the frog, and my opponent concedes. So that was match number 4. Let's go check out the last and the trophy match of this league. Okay, so I'm playing second, unfortunately, but I have a very good hand. So I keep a pretty good 6. And again, I have Devourer of Destiny. Maybe actually it was better to put Devourer on the bottom in this situation. But yeah, I really like Devourer, as I said before. It really smoothens your early draws and gives you what you need, finds you what you need from the top, and then it can be a powerful card to in the end game. Okay, so here I start with the Line Breaker, and since I have a Cavern of Souls, I was expecting my opponent here to have something like a Rebuke. Okay, I decide to be aggressive and start attacking with Line Breaker. This guy does so much damage. And next, my opponent goes for Pitting Needle. They're obviously preparing to play like Kappa Cannoneer. So I think it's a perfect situation for me to take one of their artifacts with a Battle Mage. And I'd go for Opal, go for their mana, and give this guy haste, attack them down to 9 life. So this is many potential ways to do lethal on the next turn. But opponent finds a Glass Casket and removes my Line Breaker, which definitely damages my chances a lot to find a kill. I play the Flash Raker, attack them with a Battle Mage, and hopefully a Kozilek's command with Flash Raker will be enough next turn to win this one. Okay, I go for a Kozilek's command, and I do 3 of these Flash Raker abilities. Find Yugin's Labyrinth, play another command, and that is it. That is enough for trophy and enough for a 5-0. Another very fun league with ELDRAZI Aggro. This deck has been really spectacular for me, and I'm so glad I did. I played this deck in the last week, enjoyed it so much, and there is this worked on this new guide to provide on the Decktionary in a collab with Rudokant. As I said, another deck specialist. You can read all about this deck and have 2 different sideboard approaches. With my list and my version of a sideboard guide and his version of the sideboard guide. A lot of similarities, but a lot of differences as well. And that's all. So hope you like the gameplay. Hope you like the video. Hope you will like the guide. Hope the guide will help you play and learn this deck. There's a lot to learn here, and it has a lot of decisions what to play first, and I think it definitely needs some experience, but I think this is a very good deck to start playing at the moment because it's really aggressive. It's winning quick, it's punishing opponents for not having removal in the right time, not having a perfect hand. It's really giving you some free wins and fast and free wins are always good in Modern. And this deck does that, and in the same way, disrupting you by playing Tottenham Seer, discarding cards, Mycospawn or Chrysalis here, which has reach, can block a lot of creatures, can be very plays well against aggro decks. Creatures try to attack you, go wide. This is like one card that prevents that game plan and can become a big attacker later. Chalice of the War stops a lot of popular decks at the moment, and Controlish command is such a versatile, powerful card, one of the best in the modern at the moment. Okay, so these are my two builds, the two lists I like the most personally. You can also check out the Rudokant list. He has some small, very similar, but with some small changes. I like his list as well. And okay, so that's all for today. Again, thank you for watching and goodbye.